Hey guys, welcome back for our eighth episode. In our previous episode, we talked about the NBA Finals, so make sure to go check that out. The link to this video is on screen and in the description. Also, we are expanding our podcast to Spotify, so this will be our fifth episode on Spotify and the eighth one on YouTube. Thank you to our listeners on Spotify. If you would like us to expand to other platforms, let us know in the comments. Now, Austin and I will be talking about the NFL as we enter week 4 this weekend for the NFL. Let's start with the winless teams and let's talk about the Falcons, who I believe have given up two 15-point deficit fourth quarter leads past 2 weeks.
Yes, they were up by 16 last week, 26-10 against a team who gave up on their starting QB and didn't seem all that good. Nick Foles on his first possession, it's looking good, and then he throws a pick. And I bet everyone, including Falcons fans who know their team can't hold leads, I bet they thought that they could take that game and were pretty confident in their abilities. But turns out Nick Foles turned it on, and they won 30-26. And the Falcons, who honestly are the definition of not being able to hold leads, that's why they're winless. They cannot seem to know to learn how to hold a lead ever, and it's shaped their season to where they have a very good chance of missing the playoffs.
Yeah, I would say they are definitely missing the playoffs because there's no way they can enter their division group because you got the Buccaneers and the Saints. And I think right now Buccaneers win the division as uh, yeah, they've won 2 games, and that's who I think wins the division. And I think it may be a start for the Falcons to look in the future. But they do have. I know Julio Jones is injured, but Calvin Ridley has really come on. And his second season, or is it his third? I
It's
can't
his
remember.
second, from
Okay.
what I know. It may be his third. Let me check. But I mean, he's been an amazing wide receiver. He said before the season that he wanted to be a premier wide receiver and get 1,000 yards this season, and he already has over 300. He's second in the league behind DeAndre Hopkins. Um, he's played outstanding, and because of Julio's presence on the field, it makes it to where they have to guard him. This is his third season in the league, but he was very good these past 2 seasons, getting 800 plus in each season, and this year he leads the league in receiving touchdowns, and he's really looking to keep it up as a premier wide receiver in this league, especially when you have Julio on the team. Their offense is not the question. The Falcons have an offense. They just can't get anything going on offense in the fourth quarter at the end of games, and their defense has been atrocious since the start of the season.
Yeah, and this seems to be a continuation of them. Like when you have a lead, you should run. You should lean on your run game, and you have Todd Gurley. So yeah, they do have Todd Gurley, so they should be able to lean on him. And this kind of reminds me of the 28-3 Super Bowl game against the Patriots. Even though the Patriots played exceptionally well, the Falcons did miss on. They did lack some key moments of ending the game there and keeping that lead.
Yeah.
I think we can go to the next team of the winless team. While the Falcons do have something on offense, the Jets have nothing. And you saw them trade away Jamal Adams to the Seahawks, which I think turned out to be a good trade, as I think they got 2 first round picks. But what do you think, Austin?
I agree that Jamal Adams trade has proved to be really good. Jamal Adams hasn't really shown to be a premier safety with the Seahawks. The Seahawks' pass defense has been the worst in the league so far. Um, so I'm very impressed with how bad they're doing. So yeah, that trade is the only thing that actually lightens up this season at all. They don't know what to do. They've been running the Frank Gore, he's one of my favorite players in the league, has tried his hardest, but with no real O line besides the young Mekhi Becton, he can't get anything going. Uh, Sam Darnold's been injured and also been inconsistent. Jamison Crowder was the one light spot at the beginning of the season. Then he got injured, of course, because everything has to go wrong for the Jets. I know they're not really now looking to fire Gase, but this is the worst team in the league in my opinion, and I don't know when they win their first game. I don't expect them. They're not as bad as the 2016 Browns. I think they'll go 1-15, 2-14. I definitely don't expect them to go winless the entire season. But in my opinion, they're getting the first pick in the draft and are probably thinking about drafting Trevor Lawrence, even though they have Sam Darnold. This is really questioning how good he is and whether or not he can have a successful season or career past what he past his expectations.
Yeah, and just to go back on the trade, the full trade was a pair of first round picks and a safety Bradley McDougald. In exchange, they traded away Jamal Adams and a fourth-round pick. But a pretty good trade, and yeah, they're pretty bad. I disagree with you. I think it's time to move on from Adam Gase. And a funny stat is their leading rusher is Frank Gore, and I believe
Yeah,
when you have Le'Veon Bell, and I just think the Jet.
he's been injured though. That's the thing.
Oh,
It's tough for anyone to get going right now. Uh, he had 13 rushes for 30 yards in the game against the Broncos, but uh, it, they're not giving him any space to do anything, and it's not. I don't think he's playing bad per se, but I do think that the Jets are the worst team in the league.
yeah, they're just really bad, and they're gonna get a high pick. But you need to hit on that pick, and to go about, I think they need to move on from Adam Gase because I think we've seen Sam Darnold's not doing well. He has some glimpses, but last year he talked about seeing ghosts on the field. So I'm not sure about that. So I think they need to bring in another offensive coach. And I think, in my opinion, that would be Eric Bahimi, from the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs. I don't know how he hasn't been given a head coaching job yet, as I think this is his second or third season. And that offense, like Patrick Mahomes is amazing, but I think Eric Bahimi is a great offensive mind. But what what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. They're just everything's bad. I don't. There's not a bright spot right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that goes to the third winless team, the Vikings, who I thought were going to be pretty good, especially as we talked about in our rebuilding episode. And by the way, if you haven't checked that out yet, go check it out. But where they made the trade for a good pass rusher, Yannick Ngakoue, and they've just have not won a game.
Yeah, they're not clicking on offense. They had quite possibly the worst offensive game of Kirk Cousins' career in the game against the Colts in Week 2. They've proven that they can't consistently be relied upon to win games, and I don't think they make the playoffs. They're unhealthy, as most of these teams who are 0-3 are, and they're just not looking good.
Yeah, and they did trade away their star wide receiver, Stephon Diggs, to the Bills, but they did get Justin Jefferson, who I think will be good in the future. It's just, I believe, typically rookie wide receivers aren't good in the first few weeks. It's very rare, and I think he'll start coming on late in the season, but that'll be too late, in my opinion. As the Vikings, as we both agreed, they don't make the playoffs, especially in their division.
Yeah, they already there's 2-3-0 teams that we'll get to soon that are in their division, and I mean I think they'll both beat the Vikings, even though the Bears haven't looked to be the greatest team. It's the Vikings are 0-3.
Yeah, and now I think that's all we got. So how about the Bengals? Who they can they just get Joe Burrow an O line or just one good O lineman?
I don't know, man. It's just if they want to they told Joe Burrow to be safer on his hits when he has the fourth most. He's been sacked the fourth most time. times. It doesn't make much sense when you tell a guy to do that, but he also is like getting rocked whenever he doesn't run out of the pocket. It's concerning, and I honestly think they need to consider starting someone else at quarterback sometimes, especially at the end of games that aren't close. Because I'm not about to get Joe Burrow injured. Like I know he needs to play, and I'm okay with him playing most of the game. But when you're down by 30 or something, or when you're down and it's not looking like the game's even close, you need to get him out of there so that you don't absolutely end his career early.
Yeah, and yes, it's good to have your quarterback get some in-game experience, but it's not fun getting repeatedly hit by linemen who are trying to take your head off from the defense. And I believe in the Eagles game, we'll get to the Eagles right after this. They gave up 8 sacks to Joe Burrow in one game. That's just, you need to make a trade or draft better O linemen immediately if you want to have Joe Burrow to play. As we've seen early in the years with Andrew Luck, who retired last year, you need to protect your quarterback early in his career, and if you don't, it's gonna shorten his career immediately, like Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
And then speaking of who the Bengals just played, the Eagles, who are 0-0, they have lost 2 games and they tied the Bengals last week, but they might still have a shot to win the division.
Oh yeah, this division is terrible. I don't think they do. Honestly, I could see. I'm pretty sure that the team has the Cowboys have it locked up. However, any team can win the division. If there's going to be a team who is winless right now, make the playoffs, it's going to have to be a team in this division. Everyone looks like they don't know how to play football right now, and it's really showing. The Cowboys are playing well per se, but they consistently allow way too many points.
Yeah, and their secondary is just atrocious. And I would agree with. I would say I believe the Cowboys won the division now. I thought before the season started, Eagles won just because they have stability at the head coaching position. All the other teams in the NFC East, Washington, Cowboys, and Giants, all signed new coaches, and I think due to the pandemic, they didn't have extra mini camps, so the coaches weren't able to install their programs or get what they wanted to get done due to the shortened season, and they also lost preseason games. So I believed the Eagles were going to win because they have a good head coach. They have the same quarterback. They're not experiencing a lot of upheaval, but they've just done terribly. And I wonder if we saw them draft Jalen Hurts in the second round. Is he going to play in the coming weeks?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's interesting. Carson Wentz has been one of the worst QBs in the league so far this season, which is mind-boggling to say. But I mean, this is also a team who gave up 8 sacks week 1 against the Washington football team, who also could win the division if they can muster out some wins in their division, which they already started good off with beating the Eagles. Uh, it's tough. I don't know where the Eagles go from this, as their division is terrible and they haven't won a game yet. So, what does that tell you?
Yeah, and the Eagles, they've had a lot of offensive line injuries, but they got to find ways to protect their quarterback. Now, let's stay in the division and go to the next winless team, the Giants, who did lose Saquon, and I think that's the main reason they haven't won a game yet.
Yeah, I agree. They could have beaten the Bears if they kept Saquon, but I don't know if he's the real reason why they haven't won a game. Saquon's very, 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 very good. I couldn't say enough berries there, but he is definitely a game changer. But no one wins a game by themselves, especially in the NFL. And this team just doesn't look like they're built to do anything. They need to give Joe Judge a chance as a coach, and I'm not saying it's even close for a seat to be hot, but they need to seriously think if Daniel Jones is the future. Because if not, there's a couple QBs in this upcoming draft that could be. I'm speaking Justin Fields. I'm speaking Trevor Lawrence, and maybe the guy out of North Dakota State.
Trey Lance, I believe.
Yeah, Trey Lance. Yeah, I mean, there's some quarterbacks up in this upcoming draft that could really carry the weight of many franchises for years to come. Um, I don't know where the I mean, not the Texans. The Giants go from here. Because of their injuries to Saquon, they may be the worst team in the league just because they have him lost. They were. I expected them to make a push for the playoffs. I didn't expect them to make it, but I expected them to go like 6-10 or so. But I mean, right now it just doesn't look like they have any momentum, especially after uh, a destruction by the uh, against every team they've played against except for the Bears, who they barely lost to on the last second drive.
Yeah, and man, it must really stink to be a New York football fan if you either have the Jets or the Giants, not who could potentially be one of the worst teams. Well, they are going to be one of the worst teams. It's just who's going
It's
to be the
crazy.
worst.
There's three teams in New York, and two of them are winless, and one of them's undefeated. So I guess it's only one way or the other.
Yeah, really is. Um, I think now we can move to the Texans, who I think made possibly one of the dumbest trades ever. Well, not actually ever, but very recently, a very dumb trade. As you trade probably one of the best wide receiver, if not the best wide receiver in the game right now, and you get a second round pick and injury prone running back.
Yeah, I mean, it was a terrible trade, but I don't think it was terrible because they traded DeAndre Hopkins. I actually like the idea of trading him because he's going to get a ton of money. The difference is, I thought they should have at least gotten 2 first-round picks, like this year and next year for DeAndre Hopkins. That would have been a fair trade, and I would have actually praised it because I don't think DeAndre Hopkins is. Wide receivers aren't normally the ones who win you championships. So if they could have used those 2 first-round picks to draft maybe an O lineman or two, then maybe Deshaun Watson can actually get time and Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller and them can actually get it going. But like you said, it's a bad trade because they got terrible. What a bag of Cheetos for DeAndre Hopkins. It's like I'm for the idea of trading him because, like I said, wide receivers don't win you championships. O linemen, it's the linemen that do really in quarterbacks. But I mean, they got nothing for him, and to trade that good of a player for nothing is ignorant to say the least.
Yeah, and I understand like where you're coming from for the money, and yeah, I think we both agree you need to get at least just one first round pick, not just a second rounder. Like a second rounder is good, but for one of the best wide receivers in the league, you need to get a lot back.
Yeah,
And
they needed to get some transformative player that would help them in the future.
yeah, and I think a few weeks ago we saw them linked to Earl Thomas, who has not yet to be signed, and I don't think he is going to be signed because I think they canceled his meeting. Correct?
Well, whatever happened, they're not planning to sign him, and I don't think I don't think he'll sign with the team, and I think he'll retire because I don't know if anyone wants his BS. Everyone saw what happened with Antonio Brown, and are like, we don't want that to happen with our team. And after Earl Thomas got cut because of how how he treated his teammates, I don't know, especially during COVID when everyone needs to be perfectly sharp to get to play to win a game. I don't know if they want that player who's going to be extra.
Yeah, I think now we've softened everyone up about the winless teams. Let's go to the undefeated teams, and let's start with the Bills, who have a pretty good offense, and Josh Allen has stepped it up. He's got some great wide receivers in Cole Beasley, John Brown, and Stephon Diggs, and I think that's good. And they also paid a really good corner, Trey Davis White, and I think that's really good for them as
Yeah,
he helps.
I agree. The Bills are a team that that gave up a 28-3 lead in their last game, but then actually won the game, unlike the Falcons. Uh, yeah, they were up 28-3 against the Rams. The Rams got a 32-28 lead, and then the Bills were like, "Haha, just kidding, we're gonna win the game." The Bills are a good team. Josh Allen has proven to be the second best quarterback out of that draft, in a draft where people thought that Josh Allen was not the greatest pick. Obviously, first I believe right now is Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen could definitely be up there because he's a he's a running quarterback who scores a lot of rushing touchdowns, but I think has the potential because of his arm strength to be a better passer, definitely, than Lamar. Josh Allen probably has the strongest arm in the league, and that includes Patrick Mahomes. And with that arm strength, anything can happen.
Yeah, and I think he's kind of quiet, but Sean McDermott I think is a pretty solid coach for the Bills. So I think he's been helpful in developing and the whole organization making plays to give Josh Allen targets like Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley, who I think is a really good slot. And he has I think he has a pretty good offensive line. Like he has a little bit of time, but he can also run, as you mentioned. And they also have linebacker Tremaine Edmonds, and I think their defense is important. And they might be able to take the AFC East from the Patriots this year.
They might.
So now let's go, probably, in my opinion, the most shocking team that's undefeated. Or actually, second shocking team. We haven't got to that one yet. The Titans, where Ryan Tannehill is just peak. He had 300 yards last game.
Yeah, he's played amazing. They've won every game close because I guess they like their fans to have a heart attack before they actually win a game. But I mean, it's been impressive. Any 3-0 is 3-0, and a win is a win. And I mean, they've won a game by 2 points, 3 points, and 1 point. I bet they win the next game by 4 points. But it's impressive to see a team who a lot of people didn't think could come back from their great success of last season going to the AFC Championship in a game where they were up against they were up in the Chiefs game. Honestly, could have beaten them if they didn't allow that long TD run by Patrick Mahomes. But they are 15-0 now in the career of Derrick Henry when he scores 15. They're 15-0 when he gets 100 yards rushing in a game, and he's done that twice this season, and it's proven to be the difference between a loss and a win. And they haven't played the best opponents. They played the Jaguars, who are 1-2, the Broncos, who are now 1-3 after beating the Jets on Thursday night, and then the Vikings, who are now 0-3. But they started off their season on the right foot, and I definitely expect them to make the playoffs now that they've started off so well, especially in the division they're in, where they will play the Texans and the Jags again, who are both not good, to say the least.
Yeah, and they also signed Jadeveon Clowney this past offseason with an already pretty good defense, in my opinion. They have Jadeveon Clowney. They also signed Vic Beasley, and I can't think of the corners right now. They have Malcolm Butler, I believe.
Yeah, but it's really their safeties like Kevin Byard, and I think they still I know they got rid of Logan Ryan because I think he signed with the Giants. What a bad mistake that was. But their defense has played well. They still have they still have many players from the run last year, and I expect them to make the playoffs. I don't think any of these teams who are 3-0 will miss the playoffs. Obviously, if they fall apart because of injuries or bad coaching, it's possible. But I honestly think that they have a very good chance of making the playoffs, especially in the division they're in.
Yeah, and now I think we can go over to the NFC, and probably one of the best teams, in my opinion, with the Packers, as they did make that I don't want to say questionable, but very interesting trade up for Jordan Love when you could have gotten another target for Aaron Rodgers. And Devontae Adams has been out, but that really hasn't affected the Packers.
Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and that's all I have to say. He's still a top 5 quarterback in this league, and there's nothing really anyone can do about it. Who know that the best pickup was just motivating Aaron Rodgers more to be the best. Right now, I think he's been the second or third best quarterback in the league so far this season, statistically, behind maybe, I know Russ, I'd put him number 1, and then you may put Aaron Rodgers number 2, or maybe Dak in front of him, but I mean, winning games is winning games, and I'd definitely put Aaron Rodgers above Dak for this season because he's 3-0. But I mean, their defense is a bend don't break. They give up a lot of points at times, but they also get key turnovers. Zadarius Smith getting that fumble recovery in the Monday night game against the Saints is really what ended the game. And those big play, they're a big play defense. Zaire Alexander's one of the best corners in the league. They have the Smith squared. They got Preston Smith, Zarius Smith coming off the two edges who get sacks. But I mean, their defense needs to step up. If they play a team like the Chiefs, Seahawks, some of these other undefeated teams, I don't know if they can win the game when they have so many, when they give up so many points because their defenses are better. So their defense needs to step up. But after that, I mean, they have no issues on special teams. They have no issues on offense, especially without Devontae Adams. And I can't wait till he gets back, and especially with Aaron Jones playing well. And I'm everything can happen right now, especially with how well this team is performing.
Yeah, and as a Cowboys fan, I have learned how dangerously good Aaron Rodgers has been with he can just thread a pass, and I've learned do not doubt him. And to me though, like you mentioned Aaron Jones, that's probably another key thing that makes their offense so deadly to me. It's not as deadly as the Chiefs, but you have Aaron Rodgers. Like you always had Aaron Rodgers, but now you have a good run game with Aaron Jones. And I think you can also do Jamal Williams too. He can get in a couple snaps. I think that's the key thing. And then you talked about defense.
Yeah.
That's important with the Smith brothers. And
Well, they're not brothers. But,
well, yeah,
I
but
mean,
like
they
I
are
like to,
brothers from another mother.
yeah, yeah, like I like to just say Smith brothers because they got the same last name, and their secondary is kind of sneaky. Like you got Jair Alexander and then Kevin King, and then I think they have
Adrian
Kenny.
Amos.
Oh yeah, Adrian Amos, and I think Darnell Savage Jr. as
Yeah,
a
they
safety.
have a young secondary and some older guys too, like Amos. But I mean, I they'll get better throughout the season, and I mean, what's a better medicine than winning?
Yeah, and that to me, it's important. I think in this league to have, especially in this time, you need a good secondary. You can't just rely on pressure. But they do have the Smiths to rush, so I think that's very important. And then I think they have Kenny Clark as a defensive tackle who can help stop the run if needed.
Oh yeah, he's one of the best D tackles in the league. And another big thing is their O line. They actually have David Bakhtiari, who is the best left tackle in the league. I'm just going to say it. Uh, they have a great O line, and that's what protects Aaron Rodgers so well. If he had like a DeAndre Hopkins type of O line or Joe Burrow type of O line, they're not this good. People underestimate how good the Packers O line is, and that's what gives Aaron Rodgers that 3.5 seconds to make those amazing throws that he does, and that's why they're 3-0.
Yeah, and if that line somehow breaks down, Rodgers can be Aaron Rodgers and make magic happen.
But
And
that's
then,
also why you need those running backs who can just go out and into the flats and make those catches and turn it into a big run. If the stuff does break down, he knows he can throw it to either Jamal Williams or Aaron Jones. You're both great off the pass. That really makes a difference.
yeah, and I think now we can go to, unless you want to say something else, to another scary offense, the Chiefs.
Yeah.
They demolished the Ravens. Well, not demolished, but
They demolished them. The Ravens never looked like they really even had a chance after the second half started. They got taught that the Chiefs are still the kings of the AFC until they're proven that they could be beaten. I'm surprised by how close that game was against the Chargers. The Chargers played the best against them. I definitely expect the Chiefs to win their division and obviously make the playoffs. I had them going 12-4. I still agree with that choice. But I mean, how can you really fault them for being so good? Their defense is definitely not insane, but they have players who know how to get it done, and that's why they're 3-0. I mean, I know I've said that before with the Packers, but bend don't break defenses with one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time is really all you need.
Yeah, and their defense is the perfect explanation of bend, don't break. And you have key players. You got Chris Jones who can stop the run. You have Frank Clark who can rush the passer. And then you have Tyrann Mathieu who just does whatever they need him to do in the secondary. That's that's what they need. And then they added. We talked about this on our episode earlier about the Super Bowl or bust. I have Chiefs going to Super Bowl, and I think they're going to win it. Just I don't see how anyone can stop this offense. Let's say you want to take Tyreek Hill out of the game. Okay, McCall Hardman, Sammy Watkins, Clyde Edwards, Travis Kelsey. You take Travis Kelsey out, Clyde Edwards. You can't guard all of them, and then if you somehow guard all of them, Patrick Mahomes can do something. He can throw with his other hand.
Yeah,
It's,
it's intense. Their offense is as close as you can get to perfection right now. I'm very impressed by how well Patrick Mahomes takes pressure, and I mean Andy Reid's still one of the best coaches in the league, and I think that he's proven it.
yeah, and it seems like we're just hitting like probably the top three quarterbacks for right now.
Yeah,
Let's
back
go
to
to the
back to back.
Seahawks. Yeah,
Seahawks. I mean, they give up a ton of yards. Another bend don't break seems like a very very common theme. I mean, the Bills gave up a lot of points. The Packers give up a lot of points. The Titans have given up a good bit of points against all the teams that they play against, except for the Broncos, who aren't all that good. But the Chiefs, Seahawks, all these teams give up a good bit of points, but they always just score more, and that's why they win. Uh, the Seahawks, I played against great offensive teams so far this season. I think people underrate how good the offense is for the Patriots, especially with the addition of Cam Newton. But they've given up 31 against the Cowboys, 30 against the Patriots, and 25 against the Falcons. And it doesn't matter. They're going to score 38, 35, 38 and win those games.
yeah,
Yeah, you go.
yeah. So the Seahawks, Russell Wilson is just amazing, and I kind of disagree with you about Jamal Adams. I think they believe they're one piece away, and I would kind of agree. They're one piece away from competing for a championship, and I think Jamal Adams, like he's not the best pass coverage. I think he offers a lot of blitzing potential with what he can do, and he can hit the quarterback. And before he got injured, we saw what he did to Dak. Like he would come in and mess with. He got in and blocked a few throws, and I think that's important because they don't really have a pass rush. They let Jadeveon Clowney go, and they don't really have it much. So I think Jamal Adams offers a good option there. And then they have Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf on offense with Russell Wilson, who I think right now is the my vote for MVP. Even though I
Oh,
don't
definitely,
like,
no question in my mind. It's right now of the quarterbacks who played the best this season. It goes Russ, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. Actually, no, I take that back. I put Josh Allen above Mahomes so far this season because Josh Allen has had so many yards. And he's 3-0. But I mean, you can't go wrong when you're 3-0. And any of those four quarterbacks have played so well this season that I don't really care what order you put them in. Uh, they've all played like MVP candidates. And those right now, because there's no running backs who are healthy that are good, uh, it's really one of those four for MVP right now. That is the contention. It's either Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Russ, and Josh Allen. And I agree. Right now, I think Russ is winning that battle.
yeah, and they've just experienced a lot of injuries, but if you have the offense, they can make it. Um, Now, I think we can move on back to the AFC and talk about the Steelers with Ben Roethlisberger back, and they somehow have. It's like every year the Steelers have another good wide receiver drafted in the second round. A few years ago, Juju Smith. I think last year James Washington, and now this year Chase Claypool. As I saw him make a great play against the Texans.
Yeah, Chase Claypool has played very, very well. Um, the Steelers have one of the better defenses of the. They probably have the second best defense of the 3-0 teams. I probably give the best defense to the Bears, and that's why they're 3-0. But we'll get to them here in a second. Uh, the Steelers have given up 21, 21, and 16 in their three games. While they haven't played the best opponents, all three of the teams they played, besides the Broncos, who are now 1-3, have not won a game yet. However, a win's a win, as we always say, and the Steelers have proven that they are back after Ben Roethlisberger was out for the season last year with an elbow injury.
Yeah, and they have good running backs. Like you have James Conner and then Snell, I believe.
Yeah, Benny Snell.
Yeah, Benny Snell. I think that's good, and it's just their what Juju Smith has, I believe, bounced back, and that may be due to having Big Ben back at quarterback. And but T.J. Watt on defense, and I think who's the other edge rusher? Oh shoot, I can't remember his name. It's Bud Dupree. Bud Dupree, and I think they're really good, and they have Minka Fitzpatrick, who they got in a trade from the Dolphins, and I think that's really helped elevate their defense as we saw last year.
Yeah. It's impressive to see this team come back from last year where they didn't make the playoffs, even though they almost made it, but they played very, very well. And they've proven that, Big Ben's proven that he's back. Everyone thought that he may retire after his injury and that he didn't want to play, but he's shown that he is more than willing to go for another ring. Which, I mean, they're 3-0 to start, and that's the best way to begin a season.
Yeah, I think now we can shift to probably the team. I don't know how they're undefeated, but they are
Yeah,
the Bears.
The Chicago Bears. They've won all three of their games by 4 points, 30-26, 17-13, and 27-23. They have in two of those games they were down by a good bit in the fourth and then turned it on completely. The Giants game they were up 17-0 and then let it get to 17-13, but Nick Foles stepped in last week and played very, very well after his first interception that he gave up, and that's why they came back. I believe they made the right choice. I haven't fully given up on Mitch Trubisky yet because of how well their team is. They can still, I believe, get something out of him, but this is his last chance. This season is his last chance. If he does not get it together on a team that's 3-0 with this good of a defense, like I said, I believe that they have the best defense in the league right now, at least playing like it. That's why they're 3-0. If it wasn't for their defense, especially in the key moments against good teams, they would not be 3-0. And if Mitch Trubisky can't get it done this season, it's a wrap. I believe they start. I think they should start Mitch Trubisky against the Colts tomorrow. And if he doesn't bring it, it's Nick Foles for the season, in my mind. Give him one more chance. Maybe you just had a bad game against the Falcons. Give him a chance against the Colts. You don't have the best defense ever, but do have a good defense. And then if he does not play well, that's his last shot in the NFL with the Bears. I believe go with Nick Foles, who's already had the experience of leading a team to a championship and almost did it in back-to-back years if Alshon Jeffrey didn't drop a pass. And I mean, even though last year with the Jaguars wasn't all that great, it was mainly because of injuries and not only his own doing. So it's going to be impressive to see what Nick Foles can do if he does get the option again to lead a good team with a good defense into, I believe, they still make the playoffs.
I actually disagree with you. It's Nick Foles' time in Chicago. Mitch is done, in my opinion. And gosh, and also I'm a little shocked they did not sign Cam Newton in the offseason. Like, you're paying Cam Newton's contract with the Patriots is just ridiculous, in my opinion. Case Keenum, I did the research, is making more of a base salary as a backup to the Browns than Cam Newton is as starting. As I believe Cam Newton's making $1 million for base salary, and uh, Case Keenum is making like $3 million.
Yeah.
So I just
He had to take that contract though because of injury concerns. That was the only thing that was making me nervous about signing him, as he's been injured the past 3.5 seasons, where he's come back but he's never been fully healthy. So it always worries me whenever I see a quarterback consistently get injured because they can become a forgotten member of the NFL. But he's up there right now, a top 7 or 8 QB this season so far. I'm very impressed by how well he's adapted to his role. I do think the Bears. I don't know if he fits the system of the Bears. That's my thing. The Josh McDaniels is one of the best offensive coordinators in the entire NFL. And that's why I believe that Cam chose to interview with the Patriots, especially after they lost Tom Brady. And he can change his. The Patriots are so plastic. Like they can conform to any shape that they need to win games, and that's what he's doing right now. To continue with the Bears, yeah, they probably should have signed him, but they're 3-0. They have a better record than the Patriots, and even though they haven't played the best in their games, like I said probably a billion times now, a win is a win, and they move on this week and to the Colts, who they definitely could win that game, even though the Colts are 2-1, and they do play teams like the Jaguars and Texans this year, and the Panthers, and pretty bad teams. The Vikings are in their division. They play the Lions again. I mean, they just I think if a team goes 9-7 this year, with the added playoff spot, they'll make the playoffs most likely. So they just have to go 6-7 to get there. Obviously, they're not trying to go 9-7, but yeah. What were you saying?
Well, yeah, and they have great defense, and that's why I think you ride with Nick Foles. You just need a quarterback who can lead a team on key drives, and that's what Nick Foles has done in the past. Last year with the Jaguars, a little bit iffy, but with the Eagles, we saw him. He can step in and he can be good for a couple of games, and I think that's what you need to do. And I think the problem with Mitch is he can't make key plays, and like you may have decided to go with Nick Foles, but just bring Cam Newton. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? You have Cam Newton, Nick Foles, Mitch. One of them's got to be better than all of them. So
I think honestly they should have signed him, but it's way better for Cam at least that he signed with who he did.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Bill Belichick is probably one of the best coaches ever, even though he's had some cheating scandals. Like you talked about, he can make anything happen. And I think that's just, if this pays off with him, I think they might be able to beat the Bills still and win and continue their 20-something years of winning that division. But it's going to be closer than in recent years. But it's just, you're right. Cam Newton going to the Patriots is the best for Cam.
And honestly, probably the best for the Patriots too. That was a great thing for both players.
Yeah.
Or both parties, I should say.
Yeah, so I think we've gone through all the teams, but just some quick notes. Kyler Murray is a really good quarterback.
Definitely.
Or I think he's going to become.
He isn't the best. He struggled against a Lions team that I didn't think had any chance of beating the Cardinals last week. But yeah, he's really good, and he was definitely an upgrade over Josh Rosen. Another thing that I think we should add to this is how well we already talked about a little bit, how well the Patriots are playing, even after losing Tom Brady. The Buccaneers are also 2-1 with this new formed offense, and after they lost to the Saints week 1, they really turned it up. The Colts, after getting Phillip Rivers, are 2-1 after losing week 1 to the Jaguars, which I thought meant that they are going to go like 0-16, but they've played well these past few weeks, and they play against a Bears team that's been 3-0, and we'll see how they do. Anything you have left to add?
Just one more thing. You mentioned like Broncos, like they finally get their quarterback and he gets injured, and then they lose one of their starting wide receivers in Cortland Sutton. I think they're going to be a very dangerous team next year. I think this year, and if they land in a top 10, they get a top 10 pick. That might be great for them because they can add another great piece. Like I think, and then in staying in the same division, Chargers. I think Tyrod Taylor's time is done with the Chargers. I think Justin Herbert is gonna become that quarterback for as long as they need him or want him.
Yeah, I don't know if Anthony Lynn's ready to move to Justin Herbert 100%, but I mean he is the man of the future. That's why you drafted him so high. I think with the 6th or 7th pick. I liked how he played against the Chiefs and where he almost beat them. And I mean, he didn't play that well last week against the Panthers, but he's an impressive prospect that proved himself to be a top pick in the draft. And he was a 6th overall pick, and you don't draft a quarterback at 6 not to play him.
Yeah, Well, I believe this is our longest episode, so that's good. We just got a lot to talk about. So, thank you for listening to our eighth episode. If you enjoyed it, give us a like or sub to us on Spotify. Please be on the lookout for our next episode about the NBA MLB playoffs. Stay tuned if you would like to hear more of Outsiders' Opinions. Don't forget to check out Spotify, as this will be the fifth episode on that platform. Thank you for choosing to listen to Outsiders' Opinions.